G'day guys, welcome back to another video with Eno here from Fantasy Take TV. Today we're going to cram a lot into a video, hopefully not spend too long, but do a Game Week 5 review, a very quick one. Go over some Twitter questions, and then look at some plans for my team specifically because it's a little bit of a mess right now, and then team selection, so what I'm looking to do for Game Week 6, which is only tomorrow, and I won't be able to get a video out tomorrow, so I'll go with what I'm thinking of doing, but I'll probably tweet what I decide tomorrow night if I'm around or if I get to that. So we'll see then. But first of all, Game Week 5, I don't really want to spend too much time on. So I wildcarded in Game Week 4 and last week. It wasn't too bad besides obviously Haaland getting a hat-trick last week. I did it my team was in a mess. I needed to get rid of the Leicester keepers, and Tomiyasu was on field and was still coming on for cameos and wasn't looking like starting. And funnily enough, he'll probably start this week, I would say. But then just had to get out of that. And the players, most of my team I'm happy with. It's just the two premiums, really. The fact that I went... Kane's actually been quite good, but obviously just no Haaland and back-to-back hat-tricks. He's got 9 goals in 5 games, been unbelievable. Just the timing was really bad. And look, I knew he was a great option. My plan was to get him back, and it still is to get him back in. I've been punished heavily by it, with him scoring 6 goals since I've got rid of him. So he'll absolutely be coming back to my team. Funnily enough, it probably won't be for one more game week, so who knows, it could be one more game week of pain, but... I made my decision and I've copped it for it. So that's what can happen. So in goal, Sanchez, they didn't keep it clean against Fulham. Fulham were quite good, and they've been quite impressive this season. Trent, Liverpool also conceded a goal to Newcastle, and maybe could have conceded a second too. So Newcastle looking quite good, but Trent's Trent. You got to hold on to him, as we saw the game week before. Cancelo got a very nice goal, reminiscent of one that he scored last year against Newcastle when I had the captaincy on him, actually, for that goal that he scored last year. And then that was just an easy game for City, so an easy clean sheet. Saliba came on for Reece James, who was ill, which we sort of knew just before the deadline, a few rumours floating around. But I had Saliba on my bench ahead of Andreas, which turned out a bit... not to be optimal. Andreas got a, somewhat lucky assist, but he's always a good option at home, and Saliba got his clean sheet wiped away from a goal from a corner, so a bit unlucky there. And then Perisic, Spurs just been a bit slow to start the season. Had a good game week 1, and they've sort of just grounded out some wins since then, and I think a draw as well along the way, but they conceded. And then the debacle, the Kevin captaincy, who I got in my wild card last game week, and he was benched and came on for a cameo. So a 1-point captain is an absolute disaster, and then obviously compound that with Haaland going off, just an absolute disaster. Phil was my vice, so I thought I might be getting his score, obviously, until Kevin came on and he just got an assist, and then probably he could have scored, and it sort of just came off a defender's foot and landed in Haaland's lap, and he scored his second, I think that was. But I still do like Phil. He plays every game, and I think he'll start again against Villa. Martinelli, great game from him. He was just absolutely ruthless against Villa. Really could have scored a couple more goals, but obviously got his goal in the end, and it was a nice finish. And then he got the 3 bonus. So, wish I started him, because obviously a lot of the effects wouldn't have happened in my team, but they have, trying to get him in and then sort of sacrificing then in wildcarding. So it's been a bit of a disaster, really, that I just didn't start him, and I probably wouldn't be in this position, but he's been unreal. Pascal Gross, so I don't know what happened with Brighton, but they played just him and Trossard up top, and Welbeck didn't start, so it was a bit weird from Potter, so hopefully Welbeck, he came on, I think, so he should be starting next game, and it just helps. He draws defenders, allows Trossard, Gross to get him behind, and just have space for them to operate in. So hopefully that goes back to the way it was. Kane got an assist, could have had a goal. I was watching that game after the Arsenal game finished. Could have had a goal, could have had another assist too, and then obviously there was a penalty that was probably correctly not given, but he could have had that as well. He could have, a lot of points gone begging really for Kane. I know Haaland's gone nuts, and he obviously was nowhere near 2 hat-tricks in a row, but he really could have had a hat-trick last game, and he could have got more points in this game, but he just finishing wasn't quite there. So Just hasn't gone my way there, but I still think Kane's a great option. Fulham this week. I'll talk about that later. And then Jesus, a nice goal from him, from a pass from Xhaka. So I think 8 million game week 5 rank. I think that's the lowest game week rank that I've ever had in it. Obviously, there's a reason for that. That there's just so many players now as well, and it was just such a terrible score. So we'll move swiftly past it. We'll get into some Twitter questions, and then I'll go through my team and what I'm sort of thinking of doing down the track. So I always do tweet before sort of the deadline, a day or so before the videos. So make sure to follow me if you want to get a question in. I'll say now, like team-specific ones, I probably will just reply to you in the tweets because I don't think anyone really cares too much about your individual team, but I'll still reply and I'll give you my thoughts, but I'll probably just move past them in this. Fick, how are you, mate? He asks, are you looking toward any of the new signings over the last few days to bring in over the next few weeks? Anyone stand out? I don't per se think any actual signings themselves as options. I think probably the main one would probably be Anthony, who's 7.5 mil, the big record signing from United. But their fixtures are quite poor in the near future. I think they get good. I think it's like the last two before the World Cup in game week 16. They have like Forest and Southampton or Leeds, I want to say, and then they're not too bad after the World Cup. So I think that's probably good for us. We get to look at, how he slots in, how his minutes are. He'll probably be playing quite a lot, you'd imagine, but just see how he fits and how they work. So not straight away, I wouldn't be bringing him in. They've still got some tough fixtures coming up, but then I think we get enough time to have a look and see what it looks like, and maybe a couple of weeks before the World Cup, jump on, and then after that. And then the other one, who isn't an option that I'd think of, but it's Aubameyang, and it's probably because I was thinking of Sterling and just seeing how that might actually affect him because, I'm not sure Aubameyang will play every game, but he's going to be playing more often than not. But if he's up top, it just probably hurts Raheem a little bit, who I was actually planning to probably bring in at some point. So that's probably the one that just hurt the most as an option for someone else. So, but I don't think other than that, there wasn't too many that stood out as FPL options. So maybe they come to us later. I mean, a lot of the lower teams or promoted sides like Fulham and Forest have just signed so many players. It's hard to know who really is going to be good out of those lot yet. JS asks, with James and Zinni under a cloud, would you take a hit to bring in Dallo, Trippier, Saliba, or consider a wild card to replace both? I think Reece James will play. I think he was just ill, and word is he'll definitely play. So there's probably more info coming out in the next 24 hours as to that. Zinni, not so sure. I think they rested him again just to make sure he's right for this game. So again, hopefully there's some words from the press conferences in the next 24 hours. I don't really have that information yet, so keep an eye out there. Link JWP Essential. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Abs, the obvious one being captaincy dilemma this week. Yeah, it is. It is a bit of a dilemma. So Haaland's obviously been nuts for people the last 2 weeks with back-to-back 17-pointers and hat-tricks, but this seems like the game that he will eventually get a benching in. It just made sense, and I said it on my stream that it makes more sense for him to play the Forest game. They'll comfortably win and then come off, and I thought he'd come off at half-time, but he still played another 20 or so minutes and then did come off for KDB. But I think this is the one where he does get a benching. Whether he comes on or not, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's all guesswork really, but it just makes sense because then they have Sevilla in the first Champions League game on like a Wednesday midweek, and then Spurs, which is a big game back in the league on the next weekend. So it makes sense for him to sort of get his rest now and then play those 2 or 3 games, and then there's Champions League again after Spurs as well. So that's the way I probably would guess it going now with sort of new information and what's just happened. But there's every chance he starts again, Haaland, and there's every chance he plays against Villa, plays another half a game, 60 minutes, and scores another couple of goals. So it's a tough one, but I think I'd be leaning towards going away from him for this week unless we get some more information, but we often don't from Pep. So that's the way I'll be going for now. I would go from a Salah or... I'm going probably Kane, or there's KDB if you have him, but I don't know, a lot of people have those sort of players. So for most people, probably Salah that I'd go to now. I know people don't like captaining the early kickoff game, but I just don't believe in that. So if I had Salah, I'd probably go for him against Everton, who just... Look, they've been okay lately, but they're still an easy matchup for someone like Mo Salah. So that's probably what I would go. Nico Williams, I know you've put here, To play over. I thought you were saying captain. To play, yeah, I would. I would probably do that actually over an Arsenal defender. I don't think we probably keep a clean sheet, so I think Nico's a big chance, and attacking returns as well, potential. So yeah, I think I'll do that. Theo, what to do with Foden with UCL coming up? I know he's a go-to for Pep, especially in those fixtures. I mean, he came off in the 52nd minute, against Forest, so I think he starts again against Villa. Then we sort of monitor it for next game week, see what happens in the Champions League. If he plays most of the Villa game and then plays 90 against Sevilla, then maybe he might start against Spurs. But he's a young kid. I think he can start more often than not. And in a big game like Spurs in the league, I think he'll play that as well. So I think for now, until we see otherwise, I think just fine to keep him, and I think I'll be doing that myself. Tony, I'll reply to you, mate, in the comments. Cheaper options than Zinchenko. I think his teammate, Saliba. We do have United this week, so maybe if you're looking for a straightaway good fixture and good continued runs, it's got to be a Newcastle defender or a Brighton defender, I'd say. So Trippier's, I think, still just a little bit cheaper than Zinchenko, or there's Dunk or Estupiñán, I think is how you say it, from Brighton. So one of them, because they've got good fixtures in the short term. Wildcard after this game week with Champions League break. It depends on your team, mate, really. So I can't really answer that. I wildcarded because I didn't think my team was in a good spot. A lot of people are burning transfers because their team's in a great spot. So it does depend on your team. Is it worth using wildcard to bring Kane in for Haaland? And in case, nah, you don't do this, mate. If you've got value built into Haaland, like most of you guys would have, having him from the start, he's almost 12 mil. Probably will be by the time I'll have to get him back. You keep that and you just take what comes. If he gets benched against Villa, you're with the crowd, and that'll be fine. He might get half an hour at the end of the game. And if your bench is deep enough, you should be fine getting someone on, like a Nico Williams, even an Andreas. I know they don't have a great fixture this week against Spurs, but I'd still be happy and okay with getting, with him, with just keep Haaland. You don't do this. Zaha, Gundo, or Diaz, who's better? I can get two of them. So I think Luis Diaz is the best there. And then the other one's tough. Zaha, their fixtures aren't great, but he's their number one option, penalty taker. He's just had a really good start of the season, but he had a slight injury and missed a game, so not too sure what's going on there. And then Gundo is a bit of a strange one too, because it's just the Pep roulette situation as well. So do you want to get yourself into that? He just has got a benching, but came on 2 games ago, and just down, and he's just going to probably play against Villa, I'd say. So yeah, it's tough. I'd say Diaz for sure. His minutes are way more secure than Gundo, and then whether you want to get into Pep roulette or not is probably up to you. But Zaha is locked for his minutes as well. But just not sure what happened with the injury. Worth taking a punt on Haaland Triple C? I think not at all. You want to save that for a double game week down the track. Might be for Haaland, but when City get 2 games in a week, but wouldn't be doing it this week. Rodrigo replacement. So there's a few, obviously. Left has put it here. Martinelli would be number 1 if you don't have him. I think Gross probably is number 2 as well for me. If you want to keep with the Leeds attacker, I think any of them actually look really good. Sinistera, it looks like an absolute player. You've got Harrison, and then you've got Aronson if you want to go down a bit lower, to save some money and maybe use it elsewhere. I'd say Martinelli, if you don't have him, that is a clear number 1. Gross I'd have ahead of the Leeds fellas, and then the Leeds fellas after that. I don't know how you pick between them. I'd probably go Sinistera for a bit of excitement. He looks like a very good player, so maybe him. And then Bobby's got his team there, which I'll reply to in the comments. So, if you want to leave a comment, get me an answer question, do that next week. And I'll probably do another deadline stream as well at some point when it sort of lines up and works, for Australian times. All right, so we'll come back to that. We'll get to the team selection. And we've got Sanchez in goal. So I am rolling this week. Need 2 free transfers for next week so I can get in the big Nordic meat shield that just should never have got rid of, clearly. So I am rolling Sanchez in goal, Leicester at home. That should be pretty decent for a clean sheet. Leicester haven't created a hell of a lot of chances at all this year since the start. So, I'm confident a clean sheet from Bobby. And Brighton, Trent away to Everton. not much needs to be said about Trent. You always start him. You never trade him out, and he's going to score some points and get another 200 points probably this season. Again, Cancelo, probably the same, encouraging signs of him getting a goal. Not sure how much further forward he actually really was playing in the end, but it's hard to say against Forest. They just would have absolutely dominated possession. I didn't watch the game because I was watching Arsenal, but I've just watched the highlights. But yeah, they dominated possession, and you don't get a real indication of what his role was. But before that, it wasn't as good as last season. But he's the most nailed defender for City outside of Edison. So I'm keeping him for now. Reece James should be back, as I said, from the illness earlier. So home to West Ham. It's big points on offer there. Perisic is the one that needs to be talked about in my team anyway, and I'll get to my plans after this. But Fulham at home, awesome if he starts. I absolutely want to have him in my team. That's a great fixture, but there's no guarantees, and it's like Haaland. It makes sense for someone where they've got an easier matchup in a Fulham like Villa do, or like City do, with Villa. To rest him here, they've got wing backs that can come in. Sessegnon, probably Doherty even maybe comes in for Emerson as well, and just I think Richarlison will probably play as well, because then they've got Champions League as well, and then they've got the City game as well on the next weekend. So important games coming up. Fulham have started actually really well, so I can't say Fulham's an easy matchup. They've really surprised to start the season. Mitrovic is playing awesome, but they have players that can come in and especially play Perisic's role and give him a bit of a spell. So I think it's been predicted now that he won't start against Fulham, and it's someone I'll probably have to transfer out, because then they do have that City game next week or next game week, and it's not really someone I want to place a defender in. So I'll talk about him when I go to my plans. De Bruyne, could captain him. I haven't fully decided yet. I think Kane is the best option right now for me against Fulham, but De Bruyne should start, hopefully. And then Villa's just really been poor to start the season. I think it's their worst start in the Prem in about 30 years. So, Kevin can easily go bonkers against them and feel the same. I think he starts. Came off really early against Forest, so he should start. I think I've said that probably 2 or 3 game weeks in a row. Martinelli, look, not the easiest matchup, obviously, at Old Trafford, but I think we can score, and he, he's been pivotal to our season so far in attack. So love Martinelli. Gross at home to Leicester again. They've been really poor, so I think that's a good matchup for him, and hopefully Welbeck's back. Kane, like I said, against Fulham, I think he's a really good captaincy option for me, and someone I'll probably something I'll probably stick with. Just depends whether I want to go back to Kev last week, but he hurt me too much. But yeah, so Fulham is always a great match, and they're at home, so it's just what you like, a home fixture. And then Jesus, again, just been a menace this year, but his ownership's so high, it really doesn't matter what he scores every week. His ownership's 70-odd%, and then there's always a lot that captain him, and it's around 100, and you just don't gain rank, you don't lose rank, whatever he does doesn't really matter, which is a bit boring for a player in your team, but it's a player in my actual team, so I do love watching him play. So yeah, I'll get to my plans. We'll jump over to FPL team. And this is, I'll link it down below. It's pretty much fpl.team, the browser, and you put your ID number, which you find in the URL, your team ID, and then it'll bring up your team, and you can sort of plan what you're going to do, without having to actually do it. So, it's not on the actual transfer FPL website, sorry, and you don't have to go through with it. So, we'll just pretend Kane's my captain this week. So, Perisic, assuming he doesn't start, I think Trippier it's probably my number one option. If we quickly just look at their fixtures, Palace at home. Palace, I do rate Palace, but it is at home for Newcastle. West Ham have been okay to start the season, and look, they did just get a result at home against Spurs, getting a point, and they probably could have won. So that's not easy. But after that, Bournemouth at home, Fulham away, Brentford at home. It's really good fixtures, the next 5 for Newcastle. And Trippier, we know what a good option he is on set pieces. They look quite good. Hopefully their centre-backs are healthy and good to go. That gives me 0.5 in the bank, and I'd roll I would probably roll the other transfers, so I wouldn't take a hit or anything like that. Then we go to next week. Oh, sorry, Reece James comes on for Saliba. I'll remember to do that. Go to next game week. So I've got 2 frees here. without even wasting anyone's time, Erling Haaland will be coming into my team. Too many players from Man City, quite obvious. So someone has to go. I think Cancelo I will keep unless something happens to him. Foden or De Bruyne. So I've got a bit of choice here. And by the way, that's put me at 0 in the bank, that move. And it might actually put me in the negatives, assuming Haaland probably goes up in price between now and then. De Bruyne, I think, is probably the one I want to get rid of. Feels better value. I can spread more cash around, but do I go up to a seller? I need to make another transfer to do so that makes it hard. Or do I... Initially, I was going to go down to Sterling, and that gives me 2 million in the bank to make another move the next week. It makes it tough because I don't think Sterling is an option now. With Aubameyang, I'll see how it goes, but I don't really get long to see how it goes. Before I have to make these transfers. So maybe do I keep a De Bruyne just for one more week and fawn him off later and get rid of a Foden? It's tough because he's only 8 mil. I can't get a Luis Diaz. You don't want a Maddison right now. Looking how Leicester are playing, you don't want Mason Mount. And I can't get like a Gundogan or something. So do I go down to a Zaha? Do I do something else? It makes it tough, but Haaland has to come in. So then I have to make a call here with one of the City boys. Sterling really would make sense and would help me. I could go down even further. Obviously, I could go down to, Luis Diaz from here, and then I'll just bank a lot of cash. I have 4 mil there, and then I can maybe upgrade, my dead forward to Mitrovic. Obviously, I wouldn't do it in this particular week. I'd probably just bank the cash and do it the week after. So, if I just undid that, play this team that week, probably captain Haaland, I don't know, something like that. I've got Saliba there who I can play if I want to. It's probably hard to bench anyone here. Maybe, tough call to bench Cancelo. Then you go to the next game week, and then that's probably when I'd do it. Get rid of a blade for Mitrovic. He's got Forest. I can bring him on. It is tough again. When you've got such a deep squad, it is hard to bench players. But maybe I bench Gross against Palace. Palace I got quite good defensively. Mitrovic, against Forest, he'll get his chances. And maybe do something like that. And then I've just got 1.7 in the bank and, a free transfer from then on out. I won't go much further down the game weeks, but that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. It's tough. It's tough knowing that I have to get Haaland in and then have to get either rid of one of my City players. And, I thought KDB to Sterling would be a really easy move for me to make. But the signing of Aubameyang has really made me second guess it. And I'm probably only going to get one game to see what it looks like. But you'd imagine Auba would be playing up top and Sterling off the left, off the right. So that's where I'm sitting at, guys. If you're still watching by now, hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you want to get my if you want to get your questions answered, do tweet at me when I make those tweets before the video, or if you want to just tweet at me now, and I'll reply to you before the deadline if I get a chance. But yeah, 4 million rank. So if anyone's down in my area, don't lose confidence. It is a game FPL where you can make it up. It's not like a super coach or a lot of other fantasies where scores consistent most weeks. If you got your premium players and whatever, scores are consistent. It's you got to make a slow, gradual climb. Here, it's soccer or it's football, or it's called soccer. But it's so variant. The variance is high. Goals, can be scored and they can't be scored, and it's not easy to predict. We do our best with the data and underlying stats and whatnot, but it is still football, and only a few goals go in a game, and maybe they won't. So it is easy to catch up if you make some right decisions, get a bit of luck your way, nail the captaincy, which I haven't done yet this year. You can make it back. So I encourage everyone to keep. It's only 5 game weeks. There is a lot left to play out. There's the chips. There's the World Cup break. There's a lot to play out. So don't lose confidence. Keep going and just manage your team. Look ahead, look at the fixtures, and just see if you can nail a couple of picks where they help you climb. So anyway, that's been enough. 20 odd minutes. Good luck for this game week, guys. We'll see how everyone goes. We'll see what happens. See what happens with City. Arsenal United's a big one. I'm looking forward to that as well. But hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
the lot.